Well, there it is. The quote Browns fans never thought they'd hear, but always knew was coming. Kevin Stefanski, the man who stubbornly rode the Dillon Gabriel experiment straight into the jaws of mediocrity, finally blinked. After weeks of questionable decisions, viral sound bites, and enough turnovers to supply a bakery, the head coach stood at that podium and, reluctantly, called it what was. Starting Gabriel might have been a mistake. You could hear jaws hit the floor across Cleveland. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Because this wasn't just a midweek comment. It was a confession, a moment of reckoning, the type of public backtrack that doesn't just shake up the depth chart. It rattles the entire culture of a locker room. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. To understand why this matters, why this one quote has fans, players, and media in full meltdown mode, we have to rewind. Let's go back to training camp, where the saga really began. From day one, the Browns had a decision to make. And it seemed simple. Let the reps tell the story. Let the quarterback competition play out naturally. But instead of giving each man a fair shot, Stefanski seemed dead set on pushing Dillon Gabriel into the spotlight. Gabriel, the confident, loud, highlight reel college guy with just enough charisma to sell it. He talked about being a competitor, not an entertainer. A dig aimed squarely at Shedeur Sanders. And the media ate it up until the game started. What followed wasn't just underwhelming, it was chaotic. First drive, a pick six that looked more like a backyard panic throw than a professional decision. A few stalled out possessions, a fumbled handoff, and then silence. Not from Gabriel. He still gave post-game interviews with the same misplaced swagger, but from the fans. That early excitement, gone, replaced by frustration and confusion. Because the entire time Gabriel was fumbling the ball, and the moment, the only thing the fans were screaming was, "Where is Shedeur?" You know, the rookie who went 14 for 23 with 2 touchdowns in his preseason debut. The one who showed actual pocket presence, read defenses, and, oh yeah, scored points. The one who didn't throw his teammates under the bus, didn't take shots at anyone in interviews, and didn't melt under pressure. Instead of celebrating that kind of performance, Stefanski buried it. 4th-string status, limited reps. And then the kicker, a mystery oblique injury that just happened to pop up the moment Shedeur's media buzz went nuclear. Fans weren't buying it. Neither were analysts. And then came Stephen A. Smith dropping bombs on national TV, saying what everyone else was too polite to admit. The Browns were scared, not of Shedeur failing, but of him succeeding, because success meant accountability. It meant answering why a 4th-string rookie was outplaying your supposed backup. It meant rethinking the system, the timeline, the fragile egos floating around the QB room. But the problem with trying to control a star is that they don't wait their turn. They create it. And Shedeur Sanders? He's been creating his own moment from the second he stepped into that facility. So now, after another Gabriel implosion and mounting pressure from both the fans and the locker room, Stefanski finally cracks. He admits what everyone already knew. And you know what that admission really is? It's the start of a desperate cleanup job. Because Stefanski doesn't just have to fix the quarterback position. He has to fix the mess he made by ignoring the obvious. He has to look his team in the eye and explain why the guy who gave them hope sat on the bench while they went 3 and out on repeat. He has to win back a fan base that's been burned so many times. They don't even flinch anymore when the wrong QB gets the nod. And most importantly, he has to convince Shedeur Sanders that this wasn't sabotage, that it wasn't politics, that it wasn't fear. Because Shedeur doesn't need Cleveland. Let's not get that twisted. He's got options. And if they don't show him loyalty soon, someone else will. So what now? Well, Stefanski's in a corner. And the only way out is to do the thing he should have done weeks ago. Give Shedeur the keys. No more limited reps. No more when he's healthy. No more generic, we like our guys coach speak. The time for that has passed. It's go time. Because Shedeur has earned the shot, not through Twitter hype, not through celebrity, through tape, through drives, through leadership. He's already shown what he brings to the field. And now it's on Stefanski to stop standing in the way of it. You know what's wild? If this were any other team, the situation would be flipped. A guy with Shedeur's resume and performance? He's QB1 by Monday. But Cleveland has this deep-rooted fear of doing things the obvious way. They overthink. They micromanage. They protect narratives instead of trusting production. And it keeps biting them. Every single time. The fans know it. The players feel it. And now, Stefanski finally admits it. And while the apology is late, it's better than nothing. Because there's still time to turn this around. There's still time to ride the wave of excitement Shedeur naturally brings and let him actually lead. But make no mistake, the clock is ticking. If Stefanski stumbles again, if he gives Gabriel another shot just for optics, just to save face, he won't just lose games. He'll lose the team. He'll lose the city. And if he's not careful, he'll lose Shedeur Sanders too. And that's a mistake you don't recover from. The moment Kevin Stefanski said it, actually said the words, the room fell into stunned silence, not just because it was shocking, but because it confirmed what fans have been screaming into the void for weeks. He knew that Dillon Gabriel wasn't ready. He knew that Shedeur Sanders had earned more than crumbs. He knew he made a mistake, and now he finally admitted it. This wasn't just a coaching adjustment. It was an unraveling of the lie the Browns have been telling themselves all preseason. That experience automatically beats performance. That media buzz needs to be contained. That if you stick to the depth chart, everything else will work itself out. Except it didn't. It failed spectacularly. And while Stefanski may have thought he was being patient, careful, even strategic, the rest of the world saw something else. Fear. Fear of the spotlight. Fear of disruption. Fear of putting a rookie on the field who might succeed too fast, forcing the team to admit that they'd been holding him back for the wrong reasons. And now here we are. That one admission, starting Gabriel was a mistake, has blown the entire QB room wide open. This isn't a conversation anymore. It's a reckoning. Because the moment you admit that your plan failed, you don't get to go back to the plan. You don't get to repackage it as development. You don't get to act like Shedeur Sanders is just another guy waiting his turn. He's the guy. And now that Stefanski has said the quiet part out loud, there's no walking it back. So what happens next? Well, for starters, you can forget about the locker room staying silent. Because players know. They see who commands a huddle. They know who gets them down the field. And they're not going to waste their primes watching a clearly capable quarterback rot on the bench because of some bizarre political maneuvering. This team wants to win. And right now, that means Shedeur. Secondly, the fans, they're activated now. Cleveland doesn't tolerate QB foolishness lightly. This is the same city that once built a literal shrine to failed signal callers. If the Browns so much as think about giving Gabriel another opportunity after this, the stadium will erupt. Every incomplete pass will feel like an insult. Every delay in Shedeur's rise will look like sabotage. And finally, there's Shedeur himself. The calm, the poise, the I'll let my game do the talking energy. It's powerful. But make no mistake, he knows what's going on. He knows exactly why he's been sidelined, why his reps were limited, why his injury became a convenient excuse to cool off the rising buzz. And now, with Stefanski's public slip, he knows something else too. He won, not on paper, not with a formal QB1 announcement, but in the narrative, in the eyes of the fans, in the trust of the locker room, and maybe most importantly, in the psyche of his head coach. Because once a coach admits he made a mistake, he's no longer running the same system. He's reacting, scrambling, looking to correct, to regain control. But you can't regain what you never really had. This whole time, Stefanski was trying to manage something that was never his to manage. You can't manage momentum. You can't manage magic. And that's what Shedeur Sanders brings to the table. Look at the body language during those preseason games. The way the O-line blocks just a little harder for him. The way receivers seem to find extra gear when they know the ball is coming with precision. The way defensive players on the sidelines are watching, eyes glued to every throw, because they know they might be playing behind this guy soon. That's leadership. That's gravity. And Gabriel? He never had that. Sure, he talked a big game. He had his quippy sound bites, his chip-on-the-shoulder swagger. But swagger without substance just becomes noise. And every time he threw another interception, that noise got louder. Every fumble, every misread, every blown opportunity, it all added up. And still, the Browns kept putting him out there. Why? Because they were more afraid of starting a media frenzy than they were of losing games. Let that sink in. A professional football team, in one of the most rabid fan bases in the league, prioritized PR management over field results. And now, they're reaping the chaos they sowed. So what does Stefanski do from here? There's only one way out. He gives Shedeur Sanders a job. Fully, publicly, unequivocally. Not just a, we'll rotate guys in practice situation. Not a, he'll get some reps next week breadcrumb. An actual on-the-record promotion that says, we got it wrong, and now we're correcting it. Will that be easy? No. Will it stir up more drama? Absolutely. But here's the thing Stefanski needs to understand. The drama is already here. The mistakes already been made. The damage is already done. And the only way to stop the bleeding is to start the future. Shedeur's earned it. On the field. In the locker room. In the eyes of a city starving for a reason to believe again. Because this isn't just about a quarterback. It's about credibility. It's about trust between the team and its coach, the fans and the franchise, the players and the plan. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is the only thing holding that trust together. He didn't ask to be the face of a movement. He didn't stir the pot. He didn't play the politics. He just played football. And in doing so, he exposed everyone around him who wasn't. So Stefanski can't pretend anymore. He can't duck behind the playbook or the injury report or the sanitized press releases. Because when he said the word mistake, he cracked open the door to accountability. Now the whole world's watching to see if he has the courage to walk through it. You want the truth? Here it is, raw and unfiltered. Kevin Stefanski doesn't just have a quarterback controversy on his hands. He's got a full-blown identity crisis, and his own fingerprints are all over it. Because you don't admit you made a mistake with your starting QB unless you're backed into a corner. And you don't get backed into that corner unless you ignored all the warning signs. The misfires, the turnovers, the locker room murmurs, the fact that the guy you benched is clearly the only one on the roster who doesn't crumble under pressure. But let's not sugarcoat this. Kevin Stefanski tried to manufacture a quarterback narrative, and he got exposed. He thought he could outcoach the obvious. He thought he could slow-walk Shedeur Sanders through the usual rookie gauntlet, keep the spotlight on safe or picks, and hope the media noise around Shedeur would burn out on its own. Spoiler, it didn't. Because Shedeur wasn't just a media story. He wasn't just Deion Sanders' kid. He was that dude from day one. And the worst part? Everyone except the head coach seemed to see it. The fans? They saw the footwork, the field vision, the pre-snap reads. They saw poise. They saw a player who looked like he'd already played in a dozen NFL games. The kind of presence you can't coach into someone. The players? They felt it. Ask any lineman or receiver who got a rep with Shedeur under center. Ask the defense how the vibe shifted the moment he took over a drive. You think that locker room doesn't talk? You think they don't know what time it is? The media? Please. They've been circling this story like hawks. They know when a coach is playing politics. They know when the injury excuse is just a smokescreen. They know when a quarterback controversy isn't just about football. It's about control. So when Stefanski stepped to that mic and said the words, starting Gabriel was a mistake, what he really said was, I lost the room, and now I'm trying to get it back. Because that wasn't just an admission of a bad decision. It was a white flag, and it came way too late. Let's talk about what this means for Shedeur Sanders. Because up until now, he's played this whole thing with restraint. No social media call-outs. No passive-aggressive interviews. No sideline tantrums. Just quiet work, clear execution, and leadership that embarrassed the so-called veterans ahead of him. He didn't demand respect. He earned it. And yet, for all that, he was sidelined. relegated to scout team reps and post-practice interviews, while the guy ahead of him melted under live bullets. And the reasoning? He's young. He needs time. We're protecting him. Translation, we don't want to admit he's ready because we already made promises we can't back out of. Let's be very clear. This isn't about development. This is about pride. Dillon Gabriel was supposed to be the guy. Stefanski and his staff invested in him. They believed in him. They told ownership, players, and probably even themselves that he was the answer. Then Shedeur walked in and lit the plan on fire. That's not easy to recover from. Because the second you bench your guy for the rookie everyone's been begging for, you admit that your entire evaluation process was flawed. You admit that the guy with the name and the camera following him around was the one actually doing the work. And you admit that everything you did to suppress that rise, every rep you denied, every narrative you pushed, every whisper about injury or not ready, was just you stalling. And now, the stall is over. You said the M word, mistake. So what's next, coach? Are you going to do the right thing, finally? Or are you going to get cute again? Try to ease Shedeur in, give him situational reps while the team spirals and the crowd turns? Because let me remind you, this isn't a preseason storyline anymore. This is a regular season moment. Every snap matters. Every mistake compounds. Every second Shedeur is holding a clipboard is a second wasted. The team knows it. The city knows it. Heck, the league knows it. They're watching, by the way. All 31 other teams, they've got eyes on this. Don't think for a second they're not quietly calculating how long it'll take for Cleveland to mess this up beyond repair. Because you better believe there are GMs already fantasizing about what Shedeur would look like in their uniform. And if Stefanski keeps treating this like a media headache instead of a franchise opportunity, don't be shocked if the Sanders camp starts looking elsewhere. Yes, I said it. If the Browns don't give Shedeur a clear path to QB1, he walks. Not this year. Maybe not next. But make no mistake, he will leave. And when that happens, Stefanski won't just be the coach who benched a better quarterback. He'll be the guy who lost the one that could have saved a franchise. So here's what needs to happen. Immediately, stop playing coy. Stop hedging. Stop acting like this is about matchups or maturity or some phantom pain in his side. Give him the job. Let him lead. Let him fail. Let him grow. Not on the sidelines. Not in the film room. On the field. Because the longer you wait, the more obvious it becomes that this isn't about football anymore. It's about ego. It's about optics. It's about not wanting to be the guy who got outsmarted by a rookie with famous DNA and a sharper football mind than the whole QB room combined. But here's the truth. You already are that guy. The only question now is whether you're man enough to own it and pivot, because this could still be a redemption story. Cleveland loves those. They live for them. They'll forgive a mistake. They'll rally behind a coach who adapts. But what they won't forgive is wasting a generational talent because you were too stubborn to admit he was ready. The stadium is already chanting his name. The headlines are already written. The analysts are just waiting for the official word. And Shedeur? He's already acting like a starter. Now it's your move, coach. Try not to fumble this one, too. Because now that the truth is out there and Kevin Stefanski's admission is ringing in every locker room and living room across Cleveland, the conversation has completely changed. This isn't about competition anymore. It's not about who's been in the system longer or who knows the playbook better. It's about one thing and one thing only, credibility. And right now, Stefanski's is hanging by a thread. You don't just bench a rookie who's shown nothing but poise, precision, and patience, and then admit it was a mistake, without causing ripple effects that stretch through the entire organization. Because let's be honest, when your locker room starts whispering about who should be starting, and then your head coach publicly agrees with them, that's not just a quarterback controversy. That's a leadership crisis. And here's where it gets really interesting. Dillon Gabriel, for all his flaws, knows what just happened. You could see it on his face during that post-game walk to the tunnel. The fake swagger was gone. The shoulders were slumped. The crowd, not even booing anymore, just quiet. That's the worst part. Not the anger. The indifference. He felt it. And he knows Stefanski's words were the beginning of the end. Now, He's not just fighting to keep the starting job. He's fighting to stay relevant. Because Shedeur Sanders, he didn't even need to suit up to win this round. The media frenzy, he's the center of it. The fans, he's already their guy. And the locker room, they trust him more than they ever did Gabriel. Let's be real here. When you're the quarterback and you throw 2 back-breaking turnovers in one half, while still talking like you're auditioning for a Gatorade commercial, you lose people. Quickly. But when you're the rookie who keeps your head down, delivers when given a chance, and somehow becomes a face of franchise without even trying, yeah, you're not just a backup anymore. You're a threat to the whole system, and the system knows it. This is the part where the narrative usually shifts toward politics, management meetings, vet protection, coaching reputations. The "we can't rush him" script they love to pull out when a rookie makes it impossible to ignore his value. But we've passed that point. You can't stall anymore when the coach admits it was a mistake. That quote lives forever. It's on the radio. It's in tweets. It's burning through sports talk like wildfire. There's no walking it back. You either follow through and give Shedeur the shot he's earned, or you double down and risk watching your team collapse under the weight of your pride. And here's the real danger. Shedeur might forgive, but he won't forget. You think he doesn't hear the noise? You think he's not aware that for the last few weeks, the team was selling a fake injury story to keep the fire under control? You think he didn't notice how many times Stefanski dodged questions in pressers like he was auditioning for a role in Mission? Impossible? He knows. All of it. And still, he kept his head down. But now, with the coach finally admitting Gabriel wasn't the answer, you best believe Shedeur's coming. Not with cockiness, not with sound bites, with execution, with calm drives that end in touchdowns, with huddles that don't panic, with teammates who don't second-guess the guy under center. He's not just stepping into a role. He's stepping into a moment. And for Stefanski, the moment is even bigger. Because now, every move he makes will be scrutinized like never before. If he plays Shedeur and they win, people will ask why it took so long. If he sticks with Gabriel and they lose, he won't just be a coach with bad judgment. He'll be the guy who held back a future star out of fear. That's a legacy killer. And the worst part? He knows it. That's why the press conference felt so heavy. That's why his voice cracked a little when he said it. That's why he didn't give the usual coach speak. Because somewhere in the back of his mind, Stefanski finally realized that you can't coach your way out of talent. You can't manage a star like Shedeur Sanders. You either get out of the way, or you get left behind. And here's where this turns into something even deeper, something bigger than football. This isn't just a quarterback battle. This is about the power of narrative. The Browns tried to control the Shedeur Sanders story. They thought they could mold it, delay it, drip it out over time, let him develop quietly, while keeping fans focused on their safer, less controversial choice. But the story escaped them. And now, the fans have taken ownership. The media has taken ownership. And Shedeur, without saying a word, has taken ownership. He owns the locker room. He owns the hype. He owns the hope. And if Stefanski doesn't hand him the keys, he's not just holding back a player. He's fighting against gravity. There's only one play left. Start Shedeur. No more excuses. No more if he's healthy. No more we're evaluating. Because the longer you wait, the worse it gets. The clock is ticking. And in Cleveland, where patience with quarterbacks is thinner than a goal line stand, every second counts. Let's not forget, this city wants to believe again. They're desperate for a QB they can grow with, rally behind, build around. And for once, that guy is already on the roster. He's not a draft prospect. He's not a trade rumor. He's here. And you're going to waste that? You're going to fumble that moment just because you were afraid to pivot? No, you can't. Not now. Not after everything that's happened. Because here's what happens next is Stefanski does the right thing. Shedeur gets the start. He silences the noise. The team stabilizes. The city rallies. And Stefanski, he saved his job. Maybe even enhances his legacy as the coach who swallowed his pride and made the bold call that turned the franchise around. But if he doesn't, well, we've seen that movie before. And it always ends the same way, with another name added to Cleveland's ever-growing list of what could have been. Let's not make Shedeur Sanders the next one. Let's finally do what should have been done weeks ago. Let's start the story that everyone is already reading anyway.